So what are those forces that guide us? Why is any individual here? Vedic philosophy and spirituality and memory presupposes the concept of reincarnation, that beings move from embodied to embodied life with periods of being dead in between, in various astral lokas before they return to Earth. So, so that's a big challenge. There is it's generally known that when you take incarnation, you pass through the veil of forgetfulness. So however much memory you had of your previous lives while you were dead, you the average individual loses all of that upon coming into form through the veil of forgetfulness. Now, very advanced beings may remember, even through that process, their previous incarnations and their purpose down here. For most of us, we have to discover those things or rediscover those things. And there can be very strong past life memories that drive people that are revealed in a Jyotish chart. There can be other ancillary streams of karma that drive a person. There can be a deep soul purpose that drives a person. So Jyotish is a way of looking not just at past life influences, but current life influences as well. So the nature of how the life unfolded, was their birth trauma, was their childhood trauma that's become a deep driver for how the person feels and how they act and behave. How advanced is the being spiritually? What karmas are they working through? Many times people want to know why they are suffering, not just why they're suffering, but how they can alleviate suffering. So sometimes knowing why you're suffering is part of alleviating suffering, because it makes it easier to accept. Sometimes it actually makes it harder to accept, because the law of karma is so complex that what happens to an individual can be, from the standpoint of a human concept of justice, extremely unfair. Um, so, so down we are here on earth, suffering mostly. The Buddha said, birth is suffering, life is suffering, death is suffering. Some of us are having a much better time than others of us are. Some of us are doing nothing but suffering. But it's incumbent upon each of us to sort of, we could say, run with the ball that we were given to make life good for ourselves and for other beings. And so there's a certain kind of unraveling that has to take place for that to be possible. So a Jyotish reading wants to, or a good Jyotishi, a good reader wants to shed light on everything in what is known as the person's karmashaya, or their unseen body of karmas. A Jyotish horoscope is essentially a snapshot of the karmashaya. And within, it's a snapshot of the heavens as seen from the time where a person was, as seen from the time when a person was born and the place where they were born. So it's a map of the heavens, and both of the positions of the planets as well as the background positions of the constellations. Jyotish has, in addition to 12 solar constellations, 27 lunar constellations, which offer rich archetypes and mythologies that often help a person see much more deeply into what's happening to them now and why it has started to happen to them in this lifetime. And Jyotish then offers means to soften both the karmas, the external realities that are developing, and the internal realities that go with that, which are termed samskaras, or mental impressions. So for instance, let's say that a person had a very traumatic death in a previous life, in one of the lives influencing this incarnation. Let's say that they died in a very traumatic and violent fashion. That subconscious memory becomes a huge unseen motivator for how a person responds to embodied life now. Chances are there's a lot of fear often that goes with that. Dying poorly, like both birth and death, create very deep samskaras at the moment that they take place, which is why it's like the portal to between the worlds is open on both occasions. The doorway between the worlds is open on both occasions, and deep memory implants take place on both occasions. So if you died poorly, that's going to affect everything. It's going to affect your astral body. It's going to affect your subconscious memory. It's going to become a driver for fear and anxiety and a sense of tragedy. It's going to make a person shy and more resistant to participating in life. Chances are most people have the same internal response to high trauma. So if you can get to the bottom of that, you can then begin to potentially unravel both the memory, sort of through, there's various ritual and psychotherapeutic techniques to get in contact with such kinds of memories, and through getting in contact with them, modify them by doing something different in the present moment that allows your nervous system to receive the information that you're safe now and that this past event can heal. Or there's also ritual means to kind of both overcome the samskara and the lingering karmas that come out of that. That's, that lead into shy behaviors, etc., etc. The law of karma is so incredibly complex and mysterious, they say even the devatas cannot fully understand it. So even a very good Jyotishi is going to not necessarily fully understand how you came to be who you are, but they're going to give you a lot of information about who you are. So let's say, we're born with nothing really in terms of knowledge, and then we're conditioned by our culture and by our family and by our personal set of circumstances and experiences to know and believe that certain things are true or valuable, whether or not they actually are. So most of human life is driven by some measure of ignorance, and we want to minimize ignorance and maximize knowledge for the greatest amount of happiness. So let's say, for example, a person has a planet in the nakshatra Kritika. Now, Kritika is one of the 27 lunar nakshatras, and one of the deep mythological meanings attached to Kritika is appearances, false appearances around partners. So for a woman, this can lead into, particularly one that is socially seen as beautiful or attractive, it can lead into a theme of being a trophy wife. Now, if you know that, you can kind of test the sincerity of potential partners a little more than if you don't know that. If you don't know that, you're going to be more caught up, or you're just not going to see that you're becoming someone's partner for something about you that's going to fade through time. Most people don't want to be loved for a changeable quality. They want to be loved in a more constant, lifelong fashion for their wonderful character and personality, and not for their great physical form that is almost assuredly, even with the best of plastic surgery, not going to last well past the age of 50. That is another theme of Kritika that people can get trapped in, is plastic surgery. Because the nakshatra is ruled by fire, which is the element that goes with the sense of sight, people can become caught up in their personal appearance when they have strong placements in Kritika, such that they seek plastic surgery in order to feel more secure with appearance. So if you know that you have this mental impression, and if you begin to see it with a little bit of objectivity as not just, let's say, part of the flow of what should happen or needs to happen, you immediately gain more control. You gain more decision-making power over how you want to behave in response to that inner impulse, whether you want to give into it or not. That there's a health aspect to whether or not a person wants to pursue something like plastic surgery, but there's also a how well will the surgery go? This is another thing Jyotish can hopefully tell you. If you have several malefics aspecting your ascendant and you attempt plastic surgery, you may be horrified by the results rather than pleased. So then you're in a better position to make a more informed decision about whether or not that's going to be a move that reduces suffering or augments suffering for you. My Jyotish teacher used to say the entire purpose of Jyotish is to eliminate unnecessary suffering. Stop.